Hello everyone, this is Max. This is part 2 of a video that I'm making about strengthening your characters and team building. And this part of the video is going to be about team building. So team building in Princess Connect is kind of a complicated topic because there is really not a one-size-fits-all team that you can use. Really changes depending on what content you're doing. A team that's good for story mode maps might not be good for PvP. A team that's good for PvP might not be good for clan battles. And a team that's good for clan battles might not work for event bosses. So it really, depends on what you're doing. I can't really cover every aspect of team building in this video, but I'll focus on team building for story mode chapters and also kind of generally, the concepts behind it. Even for story mode chapters though, there's not really going to be one single team that you can use throughout the entirety of story mode. Frequently you're going to run into situations where you have to switch characters around in order to get through a particular map, and that's completely normal. The game encourages you to kind of build a diverse roster of characters that you can use so you can adapt to different situations. But generally though, when you're building a team for a story map, you want at least one tank. I'll say that the game doesn't actually label its characters as tank, DPS, or healers, even though I use those terms here. Instead the game just calls it front, middle, back. So in order for you to know whether a character is a tank or not, you have to actually look at their skills in-game to kind of get an idea of what exactly they do, and then determine whether they're a tank or not. So for example, if you look at Pekarin, one of her skills is improve her own magic defense and restores her own health. And also her EX skill is increasing her own max health. So you can tell that she's probably going to be a tank character, and she is. So there are not that many choices for tanks in the global version of the game right now because they just released. So I'll just kind of go over what's available right now. You have Pekarin, who is kind of a generalist tank. She has pretty good self-healing, and she's actually really tough at 5 stars. But the problem is she starts off at 1 star, and at 1 star she's kind of squishy. I think by the time you hit around map 3, she'll start dying to things. Then you have Rima. Rima is a tank that's specialized for tanking physical damage, and she has some really unique uses, important uses for PvP, but she's not particularly suitable for tanking story mode maps for 2 reasons. The first reason is because she doesn't really have any kind of self-healing or sustain to keep herself alive, so she kind of eats up more healing than other tanks. And then the second problem is she doesn't actually start at the front of the party at the start of battle. Instead, she kind of charges in from the left side of the screen to the right side. So that means at the start, your other characters behind Rima are going to be taking some damage as well. So she's more of a PvP tank. You have Miyako, who I tend to call Pudding because that's what she likes to eat. She is a 2-star tank, and she's actually a really good character to use for your main tank as a starter character. She has a lot of self-sustain. Both her Union Burst and one of her skills provides self-healing, and then her other skill makes her temporarily invulnerable for a period of time. So she can survive a lot of damage without too much support from other characters. She's specialized for tanking physical damage, so if you run into a map where there's a lot of magical damage, which doesn't really happen in the early parts of the game, you might want to switch her out, but otherwise she's really great. You also have Kuka. Kuka is a tank specializing in tanking magical damage. She starts off at 2 stars, and she also has a taunt. The taunt is really useful, but the problem is she starts at 2 stars, and a 2-star tank is just really squishy. So combined with her taunt, she melts really fast at that point. So even if you have Kuka, I would not recommend using her as a main tank yet. Not until you get her probably to 4 stars and preferably 5 stars, I would say, is at the point which you can reliably use her for tanking things. You have Nozomi, and Nozomi is a starting 3-star character, so most players, I imagine, would not have her, but if you do have her, she's great for a starter tank. She has a AoE self-heal and also an AoE stun, and being a starter 3-star character, she's really much more durable compared to the 1-star and 2-star characters you get at the start of the game, so she's really great to use if you have her. And then finally you have Shizuru, who's another 3-star tank. Although Shizuru, the problem with using Shizuru as a tank is her position is kind of really far in the back for tanks. She stands actually so far back that she's behind a lot of frontline DPS characters. So if you want to try to use Shizuru as a tank, you're going to be limited in what DPS characters you can pair her with to make sure that she's standing in front to actually tank the damage. But she does make for a good sub-tank because she has a single target heal that can heal other characters who are taking damage. So in addition to tank, you probably want a healer, and the healer is available on global. There's Yui, who is an AoE healer. You get her at the start. There is Yukari, a single target healer that also has a TP charge for other characters. There's Chika, another AoE healer that has a summon, and then there's Maho, who is a starting 3-star healer that has single target heal and then also blinds an enemy. And then of course Shizuru, she can heal as well. So of these characters that can heal, I'll have to say that the AoE healers, Yui and Chika, are not very good starting out. If you try to using Yui, you'll probably notice that whenever you use her Union Burst, it doesn't really heal for too much. It does maybe like 10 or 20% of the character's health. And the reason for this is because at this rank and this level, a lot of the really important stats for healing to be effective just don't exist yet. And that's why her, Union Burst barely heals for anything. So if you can avoid using healers like Yui and Chika early on, I would do so and instead rely on single target healers like Yukari, like Maho, like Shizuru. Once you've got your tank and healer picked, then you can just fill out the rest of your team with whoever you like in order to meet the demands of the map. And in order to pick the rest of your characters, it's really important that you kind of have an understanding of this thing called positioning in the game. The reason for this is because when you're going through story mode maps, even though most of the enemies will attack the character in the first position is the rightmost character in this line. So you want your tank to be in the first position because they'll be taking most of the damage there. But there's also enemies that will attack characters in other positions. So for example, sometimes you'll run into these monkeys that'll toss boulders, and they specifically attack characters in the 5th position. So if Yui is in 5th, that means those monkeys will attack Yui. So when you have, for example, a character in 5th position that's dying, then one thing you can try to do is to try to switch that character for another character that's tankier. And I'll just mention Maho again here because she's really good for this, because she's a 3-star healer and she's actually has a lot of defenses for a healer, so she's especially suited to stay in 5th position to tank those pesky enemies that will attack the 5th position. And then also I think another frequent thing you'll run into is enemies that attack the 3rd position. I remember the earliest thing I saw was those moles that will specifically attack the 3rd spot, but there might be others too that I don't remember. But if that's happening and your character is in the 3rd position, is dying or taking a lot of damage, one thing you can try to do is switch it out for a character that can heal themselves or that's more tanky. And I'll mention Kokoro is actually a pretty good choice for the 3rd position because her Union Burst is a self-heal and also buffs the whole party. So if you put her in 3rd, she's taking damage, her TP will charge more quickly, and she'll be able to heal herself with her Union Burst and also buff the party. Another good option for the third position would be someone like Shizuru or Yukari. You know, they're both, although Yukari may be less so when she's only 1 star, but yeah, they tend to be a bit more tanky than other characters, and they can kind of heal themselves. Characters in the 4th position tend to be the safest position in the game, so there you can generally try to put someone that's more squishy. For example, a magic user or an archer would be someone that you can put in the 4th position. Although you do want to watch out for times where, you know, if you're using too many frontline characters and your 4th position character ends up being another frontline characters, some enemies will do AoE attacks and might hit them even if they're there. So to sum up, as far as, you know, picking your team for based on positioning, the thing you want to watch out for when characters are dying on a story mode map is kind of pay attention to the position that the character is in when they're taking damage, and this will tell you, you know, which position the enemies are attacking. And then if they're dying, you can come back out of the map and try to switch characters around to, you know, help them stop from dying. You can either try to maybe add some single target healers to heal whoever is taking damage in that position. You can try to put someone who's tankier into that position. Or if you're lucky, you can try to use a tank like Nozomi, who has a taunt on her Union Burst in order to, you know, taunt all of the attacks onto herself. And that's it for team building for story maps. I'll see you in the next video.